Distant Faces in the Dark stands for one of the good pursuits, which is closure. As I mentioned in the previous video, I wrote this song in 2013, and it was around 2016 when we decided to play this track with Slip of the Lip, and at that time I wrote the lyric for it. And there were really just a few lines that I changed, and that was because either some of the original lines didn't make much sense, or I just came up with something that was more suitable for the lyric. I think I rewrote those few lines in 2020. That was in summer 2020 when I was recording the demo for Distant Faces in the Dark. To some degree, I would say that Distant Faces in the Dark and Golden Times are both kind of similar in that they both look at the past, but from a different point of view. Golden Times is really about cherishing those great old memories, but at the same time being kind of sad that it's over and worried if something equally great comes in the future. Distant Faces in the Dark looks more at some of the more negative experiences in our life where we're like, oh, you know, I wish I could go back and say this or say that, or, you know, act differently. The first thing I want to talk about is the inspiration behind the name of the track. I actually had this dream a long time ago. It was many years ago, and I had this dream where I was just walking through the forest and there were these like random people somewhere deep in the forest. You would see a lot of trees and there would be a person looking at you. You would mostly see just his face. It was almost like there were some invisible lights on his face and the rest of his body was sort of in the darkness. And they were like, or kind of creepy faces, or somewhere in the bushes, or even like you would be sitting in a cinema, all the people looking at the screen and you kind of looking at them and there's one person kind of like looking at you. So I thought it was a pretty cool image, and it really was Distant Faces in the Dark, and I was like, that would be a cool title for a track. So what should the song be about? Distant Faces in the Dark is a metaphor for all of those bad memories in your life. They are like distant faces in the dark, visible through the light. Even when they're in the darkness, you can still see them. They kind of follow you around. And the whole song is almost like a story of trying to let go of that past and trying to just move on. If you are stuck in your past, if you are constantly thinking about what could have been or what might have been, you're not gonna get anywhere, really. Do you have any unresolved conflicts in the past? So the main inspiration behind the track Distant Faces in the Dark is like when there was some conflict and you maybe came off not necessarily as a loser, but you didn't come off of it in a way you wanted to. A couple months or even years pass by and you come up with this perfect argument and you're like, oh my god, if I said this, or if I did this, if I reacted like that, only that it doesn't really matter anymore. Because if you go to those people, if you go back and you say that perfect argument, their reaction will be like, whoa, dude, after all this time, it's still bothering you? Like, pff, loser, man. Basically, the only thing you can do is to move on and to let it go, because nothing is really gonna change. I've been through this so many times in my life when I came up with all these perfect things I could have said. I'm like, oh my god, if I said this. That's kind of the point of the song. It's kind of like bad memories in your life that you're always coming back to in your mind. It's not gonna do you any good. And that's why actually every chorus in the song has a different lyric. There's kind of a display on words, which I really love. Distant Faces in the Dark, fortune tellers of my past. Fortune teller usually tells you the future, because all of these memories, all of these distant faces in the dark, they tell you what happened in the past. They don't tell you the future. You are stuck in the past. I still recall their prophecies predicting things that came to be. They are just predicting things exactly the way they happened in the past.
Distant faces in the dark.
And then we have Distant Faces in the Dark, long lost echoes of my past, slight reminder of a life filled with pointless inner strife. Constantly analyzing the past, just like the second verse, it is a pointless inner strife. You are really suffering a lot. This way of thinking is not gonna get you anywhere.
Years went by and I still held it grudge. Same old movie in my head, round and round. Analyzing what's past and away, I had to get unbound.
And then the final chorus, distant faces in the dark, disappearing in the past. These unresolved things from before are troubling my mind no more. So really that final chorus has like the most festive atmosphere almost. It's like the biggest, the most powerful chorus. And it's really about letting go of that negative past and just simply moving on, because that's essentially the best thing you can do.
Distant faces in the dark, faces in
So let me know if you have ever been through a situation where there was a conflict in the past and you had all of these perfect arguments, perfect things to say long time after the conflict, you know, when it didn't really matter anymore.